Welcome to another episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, the show where we empower coaches and experts to use podcasting as a powerful tool to drive sales and grow your business. I'm your host, Karen Roberts. Now, after the break, I'm going to be sharing with you how to get your first 1,000 downloads as a new podcaster. But before that, I'm here with Dave Valentine, co-owner and CEO of Finch. Now, he helps e-commerce brands of all sizes create strategies that scale their profitability and total revenue, not just vanity metrics. He simplifies their success with growth frameworks built on a blueprint of world-class performance marketing. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Happy to be here, Karen. Thanks for having me on.
Would you like to share a little bit of your backstory and what inspired you to launch this business? What's your backstory?
Yeah. So I've been in digital marketing and advertising for 20 years, which makes me a dinosaur in digital time frames. One of my favorite things to do is to tell my junior staff about how I used to text in tweets because it was pre-smartphone. And they're like, wait, what?
Goodness.
Yeah. Do you remember that, Karen? Was that a thing?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm fairly new to Twitter. I do have a Twitter account and I have been posting, but it's not a platform that I was ever really using actually until more recently. I do admit I get my news now from Twitter, but, but I've never really used it as a platform. So that just goes to show how long you have been in this industry. You were texting tweets in. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was wild. So you either had to log in online, like on a browser, on a desktop, or you text it in. Yeah, so I've been in this space for a long time. Back in 2013, I launched my first business. It was at Facebook and Instagram ad agency back when that was hot and new. And we built that up over time, and I sold that in 2019. We worked with 63 Fortune 500 companies at that firm. I learned in that business experience, I don't like working with big companies. It's tough. There's some benefits to it. It pays well. There are some downsides also. And I sold that company in 2019 and immediately launched a new marketing firm doing something totally different. We were booking B2B meetings for businesses that were trying to work with other businesses, right? So cold email outreach, cold LinkedIn, booking those meetings, getting them sales opportunities. Ended up spinning up 7 other brands in that course of from 2019 through 2023. Sold the book of businesses in 2023, and I had some SaaS companies, had some other agencies. I started a flight school with my brother. That one was fun. And the only one that I kept was my consulting firm. So I took some time off in 23. 24, I started consulting with a handful of clients again. One of those clients was Finch, and they usually brought me in for go-to-market strategy, how to grow their companies quickly, how to do it effectively and efficiently on a tight budget. And so I started helping Finch get some good wins. That Finch has been around since 2008. But it's been through some pretty strong pivots. And so I started helping them get some good wins in the sales department. And eventually the private equity firm that owns the majority of it was like, do you want to buy into this? I bought into the firm at the end of last year. And now I'm the co-owner and CEO of Finch. Finch is a performance marketing agency. So think digital ads on every platform on the planet. Literally, I'm not even playing. We run ads in Japanese to give you it's far ranging, right? And we also do search engine optimization, so SEO. And we serve around 104 clients at this point. Globally, we have a team of 60, and we're excited for what's happening in 2025.
Awesome. And so look, it's a minefield, right? Because
Sure.
I think business owners just get so overwhelmed with which way to turn. Do I do Facebook ads? Do I do Google ads? Do I go onto YouTube? Should I do video? Should I do a podcast? There is so much out there. And I know, look, really the title of this episode is Stop Buying Traffic That You Can't Convert. And I think this is the trouble. Everybody thinks, and I see it here with podcasts, right? The same thing. Everybody wants to know, how do I increase my downloads? How do I get more? if you haven't got your sales process or your funnel and your offer correct, if you get 10 downloads versus 10,000 downloads, is it going to make any difference? Are you actually going to make any money if you haven't got the foundation set? So how do you help people with this? What, you must have some particular process. So how do you do this?
Yeah, so we do have a proven process. One of the first things so some of the brands we work with, billion-dollar brands, sincerely, brands that everybody on the show would know. That's a lot easier in some ways. I'm not having to introduce that brand. I just need to show up thoughtfully in places where those people are hanging out. The challenges for the big brands are, what's new that we could do that would shake people up? What new product, what new service, what new thing can we do that would make people go, ooh, that's different? So that's the game that they're playing consistently, right? We've worked with a number of candy companies, and I've gotten really close to some of the biggest candy makers on the planet. And so one of the things that I found out, Karen, that I didn't know until I was playing in this space, billion-dollar plus brands, they told me very distinctly, candy sales are flat. Yes, they have a spike in around Easter and Valentine's Day, and then they come back down, and they go up for Mother's Day, and then they come back down, and they go up for Halloween, and they come back. They said, of course, those things happen, but the real change only occurs when we create a new candy that then takes off. So in the US market, there's a big push 10, 15 years ago, peanut butter M&Ms. It's just peanut butter and chocolate. It became a massive win for Mars Wrigley. And so that's a good instance of they just tried it. It wasn't, they did some market research, they did some testing. That's what gave them the big bump. So when you think about a big company, they're really looking for a new product, new service, new ad campaign, like something that's creative to really get that going. For less known brands are 100 million or less. It's shocking to me, Karen. There's so many brands out there that are doing $100 million that you've never heard of in a year, that you've never heard of. And I've found that anything that's under $100 million, we're trying to play a different game. So here's the other game that we're playing. What's the right channel to be on, advertising wise? What's the right mix of spending dollars? So if we spend $500,000 a month on Google and Bing, how much of that do we spend on Google? How much do we spend on Bing? Where do we put our social media ad budget? Do we spend $10,000 on Meta, $5,000 on Pinterest, $10,000 on Reddit? Where do we go? So they're looking for the right mix, and that scales up and down. So again, like I had a call this morning with someone I've got $2,000. Now, that's not our ideal customer at Finch, but we've started to create a program for these smaller businesses because they're really in need of some love. So a lot of that help, Karen, comes into what's our brand positioning look like? How do we communicate on the site? Who are we for? What I see happen so often is that I go onto a website, which is effectively your storefront. It's a digital storefront. It's one that we all access through our distraction rectangles, but it's a storefront nonetheless. And so whenever we go in there, do we know where to make a purchase? Is the store about me? So often I go onto a site and they're like, we're the best, fill in the blank. And if someone cares about you, what are you going to do for me?
Yes.
And a lot of it is changing the perspective of business owners, marketing leaders at some of these smaller brands to be like, hey, it's all about your customer. It's only about your customer. They don't care about you at all. They really don't. The only reason that they care about your green initiative or your sustainability initiative is because it makes them feel good about the purchase that they're making. And so when we put it in that perspective of every time that you spend $1, we give 1% of that dollar to save the planet. So when you come onto our site, you spend $200, we're giving $2 back on your behalf. You're doing good when you spend money with us. Oh, great. It's the same idea as we give 1%. Right?
Yes.
No, you're giving 1% to the planet. You're giving 1% to our future. You're giving 1% to your kids. So in that way, it's about shifting their perspective, helping them understand their audience, and then trying out some different platforms to see. And some of it's intuitive, right? So if you have a product that's built for younger women, 18 to 34, they're hanging out on Pinterest. 69% of daily users on Pinterest are women aged 18 to 34. If we're not advertising there, we're missing it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go there. Let's hang out there. If you're looking to hit an older demographic, it's okay, great. Facebook and Instagram are great. By the way, I'm part of the older demographic because I'm on Instagram all the time. So that's fun. Yeah, so I think it's just really trying to help them understand what their business really is about, where their customers hang out, and then helping them to effectively message so that they're really positioning their customer as the hero and they're just the guide that's helping them get what they want.
Love that. And it is, I think people, they do need help with this because, as I said, there's just so much noise. And so what do you think? What do you think stops people from reaching out to a company like yours to help with this? Do you think it's something to do with the overwhelm? There's just so much. It's like, where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah, I think that it tends to fall into one of a few buckets, right? So bucket number one is, I can't afford you. I can't afford you. I've been doing this in-house. We're trying to make it work. And I see this in companies that are doing $5 million a year in revenue, even, which in the US, only 4% of companies in total will ever have 1 year where they do $1 million or more in revenue. So doing 5 million, that's a real strong brand. It's a strong company. They're afraid to hand it off because it's a big expense. We're not cheap, right? We're bringing a lot of expertise to the table. The problem is what you are saving in dollars and cents, you're losing in opportunity costs, right? So let's say that you're getting $3 back for every $1 you spend. Our average client globally, we really truly advertise in every region across the globe. We're advertising in 140 different countries right now. So our average client across the world in US dollars is making $7.3 back to every dollar they spend. That's big brands, that's small brands, that's everybody together. That's how much they're making on average. So when you hire an expert, and we have clients that are, this is wild but true, we have clients that are getting $161 back to every dollar they spend, and we've got clients that are getting $2 back for every dollar they spend, because there's a big variance in how well known the brand is and all that, how much their product and services, all that stuff. So when we look at it from that perspective, what we get to see is you really want to hire an expert that can help you get further faster. That's what you're hiring for. So that's bucket number one. Bucket number two is, I've hired marketing and advertising firms and they didn't work. And so I use a sports analogy for this all the time, but you could use it for theater arts or band as well. In the US, you have baseball. There's the major leagues, there's AAA, there's AA, there's single A. I'm a huge proper football fan. And so we've got the Premier League, the championship. We've got League One, League Two. And so there's a different expectation as you go up. If you're in the major leagues or Premier League, the quality of the experience, the stadium, the spectacle, the play, the coaching, it's all up at the top. It's a lot more expensive to go to that game.
Yes.
If you go to a League Two or a single A baseball game, you can go for $5. You can go have a hot dog for $1. You can get a beer for $2. You can have a great time. The quality of product is far less. It's not going to be the same experience. It's an entirely different thing. What's weird is when the player at the bottom league submits their taxes, it says professional baseball player or professional football player. When the person at the top league submits their taxes, it says professional baseball player, professional footballer. So doesn't matter. They're both pros. Whenever you look to hire a marketing or advertising agency, like everything else in life, you're going to get what you pay for. And so that's what's hard. And I mean that's hard. I don't want to short sell that at all. I've been in spots where I've had to hire vendors in my other startups. They weren't that good. They were okay, They were better than me not doing it very well because I wasn't paying attention, but they weren't that good. Versus when I hired somebody that cost a lot of money, man, it was a game changer. So that's bucket number two. It's like people have had a bad experience, they don't want to try again. And there's a vast difference between a single person shop, or maybe they have 2 or 3 people, and a team of 60 that's global, that's doing multi-million dollars in spend every year. It's just a different kind of conversation. The third bucket is we've got an in-house agency, or we've got an in-house marketing department, and they're doing great. So I see this more and more. In fact, the stats are that 78% of companies are trying to build their own in-house agency. What that means is they're building out marketing departments that have some of the capabilities that we have. For instance, what I see a lot is, hey, we've got one copywriter. How much are you paying them? 60 grand a year. How long have they been here? Oh, this is their first job out of college. They're 25. Cool. We've got an in-house graphic designer. Same story. And then we've got an in-house director of marketing who maybe has placed some ads, and they're doing fine. They're getting a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1 ROAS. They're like, we don't want to hire anybody else. Y'all are going to be more expensive. A lot of times it blows their mind that we're actually cheaper than their in-house team, but we get them better results. But they don't know that unless we have the conversation, because there's been this backlash for the past 20 years of, we want to bring marketing in-house. We want to do it in-house. We want to have this in-house. It's more expensive. You get worse results. It's not as quick. It's not as efficient. And a lot of times what marketing is, and I think that you've seen this too, Karen, with the work that you do, a lot of it is, it's hard to read the label of the wine bottle when you're inside the wine bottle. And what the agency world gets to do is we get to sit outside the wine bottle and go, oh, we can read the label so easy. Yeah. And so that's part of the benefit. And that's a lot of the conversations that I have. They fall into one of those 3 buckets, and that's why they don't want to engage. And it's actually, if you engage, you're going to get better results.
Yeah. I think for the people that I deal with, a lot of the time, if they're from the coaching world, they start off and it's all about organic marketing. Like we said, I think in the last week in the live stream that we did about that, they're doing all this stuff. They're trying to wear all these different hats because they're trying to keep costs down. But that's only going to get you to a certain level. At some point, you're going to burn out your warm market, and then where do you go? So then there's this fear of what to do next. How do I go to that next level? How do I scale? Because the real fear is, I'm going to spend this money and I'm not going to get enough back. That's the bottom line. If they knew, I think you said it last week, that on average, people are spending $1 and getting $7 back. If you knew that could happen, you wouldn't even question it. You would just go, pay now, press that button. I'm going to turn, that's an ATM machine. You've got an ATM machine connected to your business. Every dollar you put in, you're going to get $7 back. People would do it, but there's still, I don't know what it is. There is this, sometimes maybe it is the fear of failure, but maybe it's the fear of success. Maybe it's that, will I even be able to cope with all these extra sales? So what else do you think? What would you say to people that know they need to go to that next level? And I know you deal with the lowest sort of package would be $2,000 a month. Man, if you could spend $2,000 a month to get 14 grand back, you would do it tomorrow. Yeah. But there's something that's holding them. What else is stopping them, and what would you say to those people?
We're all so afraid to make a mistake. And I always challenge people. I'm like, when have your greatest successes come? I know for me what mine have been when I gave it everything that I had, when I put the chips into the middle of the table, when I decided that I was going to bet on myself. And there were strategic bets that I made. I've hired consultants, I've hired firms, I've hired agencies to do various things for different companies that I've owned 11 different companies. It's a crazy number. I've had the opportunity and the terror of doing a lot of those things. In my first company, I didn't take enough risk. And so the thing that I figured out, Karen, is your greatest successes, your greatest joys, they're on the other side of your fear,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's why I always do things like, hey, listen, let's just do a 90-day test. Let's run this for 3 months. If it doesn't work to your standards, you can eject. And if you really need to eject sooner, just say it. But I set expectations too. I go, look, the first month, our return on ad spend is probably going to be 2 to 1. And they go, really? Why is it going to be so low? Because it takes time. This builds on itself. Month 2, it's going to be 3 to 1. Month 4, it's going to be 4 to 1 or higher. And they go, okay, what about month 6? And I go, that's when we're going to get to the fun part, because this takes time. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the overnight success story. The overnight success story was 10 years in the making. And
Yes.
that band played in dank basements and ridiculous bars when no one was listening and people were drunk and stupid and throwing things at them. This was not overnight. This took a long time, and each business does too. And so we need to stop glorifying the overnight success. We need to start glorifying the people that said, no, I've been doing this for 10, 12, 15 years, and I just hit 12, 15 million. What a game, man. That is the best. So I think that if we just take a different approach to the time horizon and we start to think, hey, I know I'm afraid. Great, you're afraid. That means that we're onto something. That means we're actually pushing the envelope. That means that we found the right thing to do.
100%.
If we start to flip it. Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head there. I think that is it. And this is the thing. I think there's been so much. I don't have anything to do with e-commerce. So I know we're in different worlds, really. But for me, for coaches or people that are selling online programs, again, there's this thing that was spoken about. Oh, you can just spend $5 a day on ad spend or $10 a day. And you're like, you may as well flush it down the toilet. You may as well flush it down the toilet because you're not
Right.
even giving, and I'm maybe talking about, say, Facebook ads, for instance, because
Right.
it's not giving the algorithm enough. It's got to learn to where you've got to give enough for it to do its thing. And then people then give up too soon because they were expecting to get maybe 2 times, right? Even 2 times back on just spending $5 a month. But it's just not going to happen. Like, be real. Be real. And yeah, so great. Go to the expert. So go, if you're thinking about doing this, go to somebody who knows what they're doing. And rather than totally flush $300 down the drain 1 month, spend the $2,000, get $4,000 back month 1, get $6,000. It just makes sense. But we were addicted to this instant gratification. And if you're in business, you're in it for the long haul. So give it the chance that it deserves. So what should the listeners do next, Dave?
I think, Ken, I think that there's so many similarities between what you're doing, Karen, and what I'm up to, right? It's like, it's getting people to realize that there is a path that will make them very profitable and scale and grow if they continue to invest in their marketing. And podcasting is one of my favorite ways to generate new leads, new business. What you're doing is brilliant. And I just want to take them up. And it is, look, I've been doing podcasts since 2013. It's challenging. It's fun. There's a joy to it. There's an excitement. And also, it's highly lucrative from a business perspective. In my experience, I know it's been in yours as well. And so as far as what people should do next, take a step, right? Take an action. If you're in e-com and you're like, I don't know what else to do, schedule a time with me. I will, this with the utmost sincerity. I give everybody 30 minutes of my time, one time, for free. I'm just like, look, you need some consulting. I will consult with you in such a way that you may not be the right fit for me. You may need email marketing. I don't do that, but I've got three agencies that I recommend. All the time. You need a website? I don't do websites. I've got 3 agencies that I'd recommend. So it's all about, and I've also talked to people and they're like, we end up talking and I'm like, you need a fractional CFO. I've got some, let me help you. So it's taking that step, and I want to acknowledge something. It's tough to take that first step. That first step is scary because you're like, I'm going to book a call with Karen. I'm going to book a call with Dave. Just talk about spending tens of thousands of dollars over time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's, yeah. And with the marketing efforts that we're talking about, with the things that we could do, what if we can help you make another 100,000 this year, more than you made last year? What if you could make 500,000 more than you made last year? How much is that 30-minute call worth to you? Avoiding that call could be costing you 100
Yeah.
grand. Would you rather not take? One of the things, I had this guy that worked for me, and he was a former Hollywood guy. He was a creative director for me at one of my first companies. And he had this saying, Karen, that I have adopted. And he preached it to the team all the time, to his team. And I started to share it with other teams because I just was like, this is so good. And he said, we never want to say we should have.
Uh,
We never want to say we should have started a podcast. We should have been running digital advertising. We should have been doing some SEO. You never want to say that. You want to say, man, we did everything we could. So a lot of times what I tell people is, if you're going to go down swinging, if you're going to not grow this year, don't stay stagnant because you didn't do anything. Be like, man, we stayed stagnant. We tried all these things. Maybe it's the economy. Maybe it's because there's some crazy people running the US government right now. There's some other wild things happening. Let's do everything we can to say this is probably outside of our control. But let's try the things that we can do to move the business forward, because you never want to say we should have. And as things are tumultuous, because they are for everybody, this is the time when businesses really grow. I know that feels
100%.
counterintuitive. It's true. Some of the best businesses are going to be born out of this instability that we're going through globally.
Yes.
That everyone that's not in a government position feels. Like everybody across the globe that's just business owners and workers and whatever, we're all feeling it the same way, which is what's going to happen next. I don't know. I have no idea. It feels really wild. And one of the things that we can do is we all look at each other and we all say the same thing. It feels really wild. Does it feel really wild? Okay, great. So then we try and help each other out. And that's part of the game. It's just diving in and going for it.
Love that. So if the listeners want to know more, or they've made that decision from hearing you speak, that, okay, I'm ready to scale, I'm ready to take that next step, how do they reach out to you? Where do they find you?
Yep. So you can reach out to me personally, dave.valentine@finch.com. That's my personal email. If you do that and you mention the name of the podcast in the headline, I would love to give them a free audit. It's a $5,000 value. We actually charge that to people. And we'll look at your ad campaigns if you're running them right now, or you can just have some consulting with me for 30 minutes for free. I will literally just tell you what I would do if it was my business and how I would take care of it and grow it. The other thing you could do is find me on pretty much every social media platform. My social media handle is RealDVal, RealDVal. And I'm active on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter.
Awesome.
So if you're looking to find me, you can find me there.
Brilliant. Dave's details will be in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this, resort back to the show notes and get in touch. Yeah, Dave, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And to the listeners, after the break, after the ads, I will be back with how to get your first 1,000 downloads if you're new to podcasting. So bye for now. So I'm back, and how to get your first 1,000 downloads, right? So welcome to my podcasting tip of the week. If you're just starting out, you might be wondering, how do I actually get people to listen to my podcast? Specifically, how can I hit my first 1,000 downloads? So I'm going to break this down for you. So step one, use your inner circle. Like, that's just first things first. Don't overlook the people that are already in your world. Friends, family, co-workers, social media connections. Tell them about your podcast. There's no point in launching a podcast and being the biggest secret. And don't just say, hey, I started a podcast. Give them a reason to listen. So for example, I just launched a podcast where I interview successful entrepreneurs. And in episode 1, we talk about how to land your first high-paying client. Make it intriguing, because people are more likely to listen if they see what's in it for them. Because it's not about you. It's about what's in it for the listener. And look, don't be shy about personally messaging. But if you went for just 5 to 10 people and ask for support, if you don't ask, you don't get. So a simple, hey, Sarah, I know you're into insert topic, right? And I've just started a podcast that covers this. If you get a chance, I'd love for you to check out episode 1 and then let me know what you think. So personal outreach will work way better than a generic social media post. I'm not saying social media posts don't work. We do them every single day. Now, step 2, share it everywhere, but be smart about it. You don't need to be on every social media platform, but you do need to show up where your audience hangs out. So LinkedIn, which is probably my biggest one, is great if your audience is for other professionals, right? They're other professionals, business owners, or entrepreneurs. So write a post about the key takeaways from the episode and then link to it, right? If you're using Instagram, use stories or reels or carousels with engaging visuals or a short teaser video snippet. So we may use like the weekly thumbnail, with a picture of my guest as an image. Then we might pull a quote out from that particular episode and put it on a design. They can be used for posts and for reels or stories. Then Facebook groups, but don't just drop your links because that just gets ignored. Instead, start a conversation related to your episode's topic. So, example, what's your number one challenge with growing a business? Then mention your episode in the discussion, right? Now, with Twitter or X, you can share quotes because you don't have so much space, right? So share a particular quote from the episode as a short thread and link to the episode at the end. Do not forget that. Now, a pro tip, instead of posting once and moving on, promote each episode 3 to 5 times throughout the week. Look, I post every single day. Every single day I post a snippet from that week's episode. And then one day I might post the weekly thumbnail. Another day I might pull out the quote card. Another day I might share the YouTube video link. Another day I might write a LinkedIn article and embed the episode in. So many people give up too soon, or they think because they've posted once about the episode, that's enough. Look, whatever your post, whatever platform you're using, not everybody is going to see that post. They're just not. It's just the way the algorithm works. I know for me, I post 5 times a day, every single day. The people that are connected to me on LinkedIn, they're not going to see every post that I post. But over the period of the month, they might get a couple, right? And in different formats. Day 1 for you, you might announce the episode, make it exciting, curiosity-driven post. I know for me, I do a short live stream introducing next week's guest to promote the episode. Day 2, you might pull out a key takeaway or a key lesson from that episode. Another day, you might post the snippet, the short video, or if you don't do video, use an audiogram with a teaser clip. The following day, you might, again, create an image in Canva with a quote from the episode. So every day there's something different, but they're all tying back to that particular episode. Now, another way to hit your first 1,000 downloads is really to get on other podcasts. It's one of the fastest ways to grow your audience is guesting on other people's podcasts. Why? Because the one thing you know for certain is their audiences are already listening to podcasts. So make a list of podcasts that are in your niche. You can easily do this by searching Apple or Spotify or Google for shows that align with your particular topic. Then send a great pitch. Now, Don't just say, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. Say, I loved your recent episode on insert topic. And I think your audience would also love to hear about insert your expertise. I'd love to share insights on insert specific topic, including and give some valuable takeaway. Let me know if that fits your show. Or better still, do a short video, use Loom. Send a video introducing yourself and saying that's going to go a long way. And make sure that you're going to be a great guest. Offer actionable advice and naturally mention your own podcast. Like I actually did a deep dive on this in episode 12 of my podcast where I shared my exact framework. So even if you did just 5 guest appearances, that can give your podcast a massive boost. Now, the last tip sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. Use blogging to drive traffic to your podcast. If you're not repurposing your podcast into a blog post and or a LinkedIn article, you're missing out on a massive audience because it gives it SEO power, right? When people Google topics related to your episode, your blog post can show up. And if you embed the episode in it, that will bring in new listeners. There's more opportunity for shareability because some people just prefer reading over listening. So a blog post gives them that option and it still links to your episode. Now, it's also great content for your social media. So, written blog post, that could be one of your days posting about your podcast. It's really easy to turn the transcription of your episode using something like otter.ai, get the transcription, and then just go to ChatGPT and ask it to write a blog post from the transcription. Use headings, you can use bullet points if you want, or a summary if you prefer. It's entirely up to you. Make sure you embed the episode. So you add the podcast player at the top so people can listen without having to leave the page. And make sure that you optimize it for search engines, right? So make sure you use keywords that people might search for. So for an example, if your episode is about, how to get more clients, make sure that phrase is in your blog title and content. And make sure you include a call to action. So end with something like, if you enjoyed this, check out the full conversation on insert your podcast name with a link to your show. Now, this doesn't have to take up too much time. But the thing is, the key is be consistent. A lot of podcasters give up too soon. And quite honestly, they're not promoting their podcast enough. Once a week is not enough. But here's the thing, podcasting is a long game. I say this over and over. It's a marathon and not a sprint. Whatever your schedule is, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, just stick to it. The key is consistency. So, guys, final thought, right? Let's do an overview. To get your first 1,000 downloads, tap into your inner circle, show up on social media strategically, guest on other podcasts, repurpose episodes into blog posts and snippets, and stay consistent. You'll get there way faster than most podcasters because most podcasters are not doing all of that. So guys, if you've been thinking about launching a podcast but don't know where to start, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/appointment and book a complimentary podcast strategy call. Let's see if we can get your podcast up and running in no time. See you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.